Hello, my name is Mason Van Valkenburg, and I will be briefly discussing the biopsychosocial influences which impact obesity. Some background information on obesity. Obesity has rapidly grown into one of society's primary health concerns over recent years, and there have been several factors which can contribute towards this insidious ailment. Coppola, Neto, Amaro, Afeche, Tan, and Reeder explain that obesity exists within human beings whenever energy intake exceeds energy expenditure, which then results in a significant increase in weight gain, leading towards obesity. So essentially, obesity occurs whenever you eat more than your body needs to sustain its bodily functions throughout the day. And when this becomes a consistency, then this in turn results to obesity. Some more background information on obesity. Reeve, Ash, Farias, and Gostin explain how critical obesity is to the health of the American people, and reveal that over a third of the American population are now considered to be obese, which supports the idea that obesity is a serious concern that requires significant amount of support to combat. And Reeve also mentions that several policies have been established by the government, statewide and locally, in an effort to help reduce the detrimental influences of obesity on society. The efficacy of state and municipal policies aimed at directly countering obesity are essential towards the fight against obesity, which Reeve discusses and provides strong support for the continued innovation provided by these organizations. Several biological influences, part of the biopsychosocial implications, each contribute towards obesity, and there are several of these factors, and each can play a significant role in moderating the occurrence and severity of obesity. The biological factors associated with obesity can include the levels of physical activity, certain dietary habits, and possibly forms of vitamin supplements or various forms of medication. One biological influence on obesity, Coppola Neto describe melatonin could be a key mediator molecule in the integration between the cyclic environment and the circadian distribution of physiological and behavioral processes, which are required in order to maintain a healthy metabolism and maximize energy balance and body weight regulation. And melatonin can commonly be seen as the vitamin supplement to aid in sleeping, but as the study shows, it could have more benefits in regards to combating obesity. Guo, Mollering, and Garvey found that the cardiometabolic disease staging system, CMDS, was found to be a useful tool for effectively analyzing cardiometabolic disease risk, but that this tool could also be utilized towards a complication-centric approach towards the treatment of obesity. Guo also explains that the primary goal of this treatment was to ameliorate or to help support in countering complications that arise as a result of obesity. Sleep is another important aspect of that can promote the onset of obesity, and Colin and Smith determined that among patients diagnosed with sleep apnea, which were also simultaneously diagnosed with hypertension as well, were successfully treated through utilizing the positive airway pressure therapy and experienced significant reduction in weight, which would ultimately help in reducing obesity. Bandine, Martinez, Nicholas, Ordovas, Madrid, and Gorelat also found sleep to be an important factor in weight loss, and discovered that individuals with an effective circadian rhythm towards the beginning of treatment predicted the success of future weight loss. And it's been heard, you can see it on the TV and the media, that sleep is also really important in overall health as well. Other biological influences which can contribute to obesity can also include aspects of the brain structure and neurological pathways. Cornell, Benson, Pantazatos, Hirsch, and Gelibatier found that among obese individuals, a strong modality-independent neural bias towards environmental cues representing high energy density foods was exhibited. Cornell also discovered that during heightened periods of modality-independent responses to food cues within the midbrain and putamen, an altered functional connectivity between the midbrain and cerebellum could have a simultaneous contribution towards excessive food intake among obese individuals. And this helps show another aspect of the physical bodily functioning can have towards obesity in regards to brain activity. Psychological influences. Another important aspect of obesity is understanding the psychological aspects of this ailment. And obesity can be influenced by these various psychological factors, but also obesity can also intensify other psychological ailments. So obesity can both be affected by and influence psychological ailments. Dietary habits and health conditions caused by these habits, such as obesity, can also maintain influence on an individual's emotional state, causing ailments such as depression. Sharma and Fulton found that the consistent consumption of high-fat foods and obesity can induce plasticity-related alterations and reward circuitry, which were associated with characteristics of depression, showing that obesity can have a detrimental influence on the onset of depression and depressive symptoms. Obesity can influence the tendency for various forms of psychological distress and ailments, which are directly caused by having obesity due to the increased tendency for social discrimination or prejudice. Jackson, Beacon, and Wardle found that perceived weight discrimination helped reveal the significance of the relationship between obesity and psychological health. Jackson also explained that perhaps by reducing negative perceptions and stereotypes associated with weight, certain psychological ailments that come as a result of obesity could potentially be mitigated or lessened to some extent. Guiva, Frontini, Cannavaro, and Moriarty established that by having an early case of obesity during childhood, that it significantly increased the overall risk for having a much poorer quality of psychosocial ability later on in life. Guiva also indicated that the detrimental impact of early obesity requires immediate attention, and preventative measures are required which should focus on preventing obesity before it grows into an extreme concern. Guiva also attributed body image dissatisfaction as an extremely critical aspect of obesity, which is also strongly associated with a poor overall quality of life. Another interesting aspect of the psychological influences on obesity is the ailment of food addiction, which has somewhat lacked significant research in the past and can be somewhat difficult to determine. Fortuna explained that both obese and bulimic individuals were at a much higher risk for the consumption of hyperpalatable foods, which are foods that taste better but may not be as healthy for you, which is also increased by the extensive level of advertising promoting these hyperpalatable food choices, which significantly increase the risk for obesity, which can be seen every time you look on the TV. You can see multiple different advertisements showing, and not even on the TV, even across the street, you can see on billboards that advertise these unhealthy food options. There are several social influences also which affect obesity, and current research has revealed significant relationships can exist between various social aspects and obesity, which can vary based on their level of influence. Social factors are important to consider when finding social-based forms of treatment, like group-based interventions. The environment that the individuals often find themselves in are also another important aspect in regards to social influences that can contribute towards obesity. Muckenhuber, Dorner, Burkert, Grossold, and Freund found that individuals possessing a lower social capital were at a much greater risk for being obese, despite factors of socioeconomic status or lifestyle choices. Muckenhuber also expresses the need for treatments to focus on activities which can enhance the levels of social capital among those struggling with obesity. Shin, Valente, Riggs, Hugh, Sprugit, Metz, Chow, and Ann Pence determined that the efficacy of peer-led components of obesity intervention were a direct result of the peer influence having strong positive effects on the obesity prevention programs. Shin also explains that future peer-led interventions should focus on promoting healthful behaviors and effectively utilizing social network and social media in a way that also supports the intervention procedures. And this article helps show how peer support can strongly influence the effectiveness of obesity treatments. Anesi and Tennant applied social cognitive theory towards a form of treatment utilizing supported exercise towards obesity, which was supported by significantly higher levels of nutritional health and weight loss among those that were afflicted with severe obesity. Specifically, the changes produced by the support exercise treatments promoted changes in self-regulation, mood, and self-efficacy, which each were associated with overall improved nutritional behavior. As mentioned before, obesity exists as one of our nation's top primary health concerns and urgently requires greater extensive research in order to understand all the answers on and to be able to effectively handle the situation and to create better, more higher quality treatments in order to counter obesity. Throughout this presentation, I provided explanations on various aspects of obesity and the biopsychosocial factors which influence obesity, and I've also described several possible treatments which have yielded significant positive effects in countering obesity. And future research should be aimed at taking a multi-directional approach towards finding the most appropriate solutions for treating obesity based on the individual's specific needs. Because people can be struggling with obesity, but be at different stages of severity, which will require specific treatments that are focused on the level of severity. And here are the references, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Have a nice day.